Same thing, just make sure sanitizer touches everything in the... Funnel that we're going to use in the star sand. Hydrometer needs to go in the star sand. You're going to have to be careful with your hydrometer. Hydrometer is made of glass. It's going to be the first thing that you break. I recommend buying 2 hydrometers because as soon as you need it, it's broken. You always have a backup.
I agree.
So we're just gonna
also buy 3 or 4. I don't
3 or 4 of everything. All of our airlocks that we're going to use. Come down in the star sand. Let them sit.
I forgot your name already.
Nadia.
Nadia.
I like the tri-style.
I was gonna say Naomi.
They have a little line.
You can call me
line
whatever you
that's
want, baby.
Add sanitizer too. You're gonna keep sanitizer instead of plain water in it because of any event that there's a temperature change, anything, it may suck a little bit down in, and you want it to be sterile water or sterile something. Sanitizer will keep it sterile. All right, it's been 2 minutes. It's sanitized. So let's start with this recipe. This is an ancient orange mead. This is our no-touch mead. There's 2 pages. So if you will, take 2 pages and pass it down. That's the recipe we're going to be following.
Recipe.
Everything in contact with the star sand. All right, we're going to add 3.5 pounds of clover honey. I know that this is 6 pounds. You can use any kind of honey that you want. If you use raw organic honey from local areas, local beekeepers, you're going to get your best flavor. But watch out around almond fields. If you get almond honey can ferment really bitter. Citrus up in Sacramento, they have some really, really good citrus honey up there. So I'm going to add half of this. Your measurements on this don't have to be precise because we're not looking for this one to ferment dry. This one will ferment semi-sweet, so it's instantly drinkable. You don't have to back sweeten unless you want more sweetness to it. So the yeast has a tolerance, a certain alcohol tolerance. The yeast that we're using is 1388 Belgian ale. It's the only yeast that really works well with mead. Any other yeast is going to give you a beer flavor in your mead, which we want a really nice kind of white wine flavor. Cinnamon stick, however much cinnamon you like. You can add 2 cinnamon sticks. I find that 1 in a gallon is just about right. And 1 clove. I wouldn't recommend adding any more than 1 clove. 1 clove can be very, very, very strong in a mead batch. And as you'll see, you'll taste this orange spice, and it has a very pronounced clove flavor. I used 1 tiny little clove in it. Get honey that's crystallized, put it in a hot water bath, loosen it up, and it'll turn it back into, or you can microwave it for a couple of seconds. The real key to mead making, people boil it and do all this other stuff to it. I like the raw honey, and I think if you boil it, a lot of your flavor goes away. And we're really looking, because mead is basically honey and water. You use the best ingredients that you can, you're going to get the best product out of it. Have to be as precise. I use a home scale that goes up to about 15 pounds.
Just like a kitchen food scale?
Kitchen food scale. You're going to put your container on it, you're going to zero it out, and then you'll know exactly how much honey that you're going to use. Like I said, this one doesn't have to be very precise because it's just a no it's going to be sweet anyway. Not looking for a dry mead. The second mead we're going to make, you can either make it dry or you can back sweeten it to however sweet that you want. All right. So what I like to do is I like to add about a half a gallon of water to it. I find that the darker your honey is, the better flavor it's going to have. Some people like some of the darkest, blackest honey that I've made has made some of the best mead for me. In this batch now we have honey and water. We're going to try and get that honey, you see how the honey separates down to the bottom? We're going to try and get that honey mixed up as best as good as you can. The yeast, once it starts fermenting, it's literally a boiling cauldron, so it's going to mix it up itself. There we go. Add your cinnamon stick. You're gonna add your clove. The original recipe calls for you to add it rind and all. I find if you add the rind, you have a very, very bitter taste from the rind. I like to take the rind off and just put the squares, the slices, just the regular slices. You want to start opening some meat? I feel like tasting some?
But I'll try. He's got a really good corker.
You're going to remove as much of the white as you can. You'll find if you use the peel, it's going to have to age for a lot longer. So you just basically put the orange in. Going to be our fruit element of it. We have the spices, now we're adding the fruit. This is going to add a little bit of sugar to it too, and it's going to add a little acid to kind of balance out the sweet.
The recipe says here optional ingredients. What kind of ingredients are optional?
Whatever you want to put it, what do you want it to taste like? You want cherries in it, you want
Okay.
any kind of fruit that you want.
Okay.
But remember, you add the fruit in proportion, so you don't get overpowering this or overpowering that. We're looking for a more balanced mead.
So is this still considered a mead?
Yes, this is a mellow melt. So a mellow melt is a fruit mead. You have a hydromel, which is a very light mead, 6-7%. You have a sweet mead, which comes in usually around 10-12%, and it's semi-sweet. And then you have a sack sweet mead. Sack sweet mead is very sweet and very strong. That's usually what I make. I like sack sweets. So there we go. We got that in. Raisins, 25 raisins. You can count them. Not they're only 25 or 30. This is where your nutrients for the batch is coming with. Honey on its own not contain a lot of nutrients. The yeast needs nutrients to get by. This is a very basic way of adding nutrients. It's just to add some raisins. Comes out to about a handful of raisins.
And sugar usually helps with the fermentation.
Exactly, and the residual sugar from it. To begin with, we're just going to fill it up just below the 1 gallon mark, because we're going to want to have a little bit of leeway for the yeast to do its work. It'll foam up and start violently turning after a few days. You'll see that it slows down. You're going to add some distilled water that you boiled so it's clean. You're going to add that to it to kind of top it off. Because what we're looking for is not a whole lot of headspace. By the time it's done, you don't want any more than the base of the neck because oxygen exposure is going to oxidize it. Turn it kind of funky tasting. So that's about. So that's about 25. How does that work now? Okay, so now we're going to top it off with water. But remember, we're going to add a packet of yeast to it. Packet of yeast in the sterilizer. Everything in the sterilizer. These packs have a smack pack. You're going to fill a little balloon in them. You're going to put the balloon in the bottom. You're just going to smack it, make sure that it's broken. That's the nutrients for the yeast. What this package will do, if you let it sit long enough, you're supposed to let it sit 2 or 3 hours, it'll balloon out. You know that your yeast is working because it's producing carbon dioxide. Yeast works by eating sugar and pooping out carbon dioxide and alcohol. We're looking for the alcohol. So these are pretty big packs, so I like to add the yeast now because it does add a little bit of volume to it. Gonna top off with water. So about there. That's about what I like to fill it up to. And the next week or so, it's going to kind of die down. The activity is going to die down, and you're just going to top it off to as high as you want, all the way up to the neck. Get your airlock. Fill it up to the line. You're going to check your airlock every week. Make sure it's filled up to that line because we don't want any oxygen in. We want carbon dioxide out. There you go. That's your first mead. That's it. Set that in a dark place, let it do its thing. Room temperature.
How long does it do its thing?
This one takes about 3 months. In about a month, you'll see that it dies down. Some of the fruit will start dropping, but this will actually drop crystal clear. She took the orange spice, but it'll come out about this color.
And what is that?
Maybe a little darker.
Again?
This is mead.
Mead. Yeah,
This is the orange spice that we just made. It's got cloves, cinnamon, oranges.
Yeah, my son-in-law makes it.
And raisins.
He's in Seattle.
Yeah. So that's it. That's the easy, quick mead. Now what I'm going to show you now is what's called a 1 month in a quick drinking mead. No heat.
So what do we do with that after 3 months?
After 3 months, this is gonna drop down. Everything's gonna drop to the bottom. They make different sizes of these. You're gonna get the one for a gallon. It's about this long. And what I like to do is I like to rack it into another. What racking is just transferring. You're gonna stick the tube down it or the auto siphon down into. You're gonna rack off all the clear stuff all the way down. You're gonna leave the junk down at the bottom. I like to put it into another container and then top it off with some other kind of mead all the way up to the top, because you're going to lose a little bit of space, but you're going to want to make sure when you're aging it that it's all the way up to the neck, as little head space as you can. But
So if you wanted to
and then you just let it sit.
If you wanted to back sweeten it, would you do that a couple times to make sure there's no...
Okay, so in 3 months, 2 months, a month, however long it takes to do, just let it do its thing. Check on it once in a while. Once it's dropped all the way, it'll drop crystal clear. You're going to want to add potassium sorbate and potassium metabisulfate. Potassium metabisulfate is sulfites, like wine always has sulfites. Your yeast actually produces a small amount of sulfites, so there's no such thing as a sulfite-free wine. It's not possible. They all contain trace amounts of sulfites. But the sulfites will help stabilize it. The potassium sorbate will keep your yeast from reproducing, so your yeast will eventually die. So you have no yeast left in it. So whatever sugars you add after that, it's just all sweetening. It will not re-ferment. So basically, we're just stabilizing it and getting it to drop all the yeast and kill all the yeast, so that it doesn't start up fermentation again in the bottle and you don't get carbonated mead.
Did you back sweeten the one we're going to taste?
Yes, I back sweeten all of them. I use Turkish honey from Trader Joe's. It has a really nice caramel taste, and it's like $5 or $6.